Ooh, yep, that was a good update. Let's talk about it. What's going on, everybody? Jibbs here from LoreForged, and today we are talking about the World Event update that we just saw at the development update live stream. My goodness, was it good. So we're just going to dive into the nitty gritty and some of the details of what we got to see today. They're in the Highwayman Hills, which was an awesome place to see, to kind of go back to that zone yet again. And in this case, they were fighting some giant web weaver spiders. Now, the interesting thing was that the players, because of their actions with those spiders, is what triggered the world event further down the road. What was neat was they talked about some of those event triggers for these world events in Vera. So these could be mobs killed, amount of resources harvested, story arcs, relationships between nodes. That one's going to be interesting. Caravans, and I believe there's many more. They just listed just a few. And the interesting component about all of this was one of the things that was brought up by the developers that were there on the stream was there is a heat map that's tracking player activity in Vera. And so what happens when an event is triggered, this heat map is telling this event how difficult, because of how many players that are in the vicinity of that heat map is telling this event how difficult it needs to be. So it's very, very interesting technology that they're using for that. The event began after they were killing those spiders and initiated the quest, The Hills Have Knives. It was very cool. We did a lore video on the Gray Shore Trading Company, and they were back at full swing. So they had to go there and defeat the highwaymen who were ambushing them and defend that Gray Shore caravan. You could see the smoke rising from the distance. They run up on it and they start taking care of it. Immediately, it puts you into this raid group that you can choose to stay in if you want to. Players can choose to stay in. In fact, they even encourage you to stay in it because of the way that the game is shaped, the way it's built. It's a difficult game, so you're gonna need some help from friends. So after the event was over, they go to loot, and it was kind of funny because they were talking to the quest NPC. Meanwhile, his caravan is still burning. I'm pretty sure it gave my two firemen an extreme amount of anxiety watching this continue to burn. That was funny. Anyway, their quest reward that they got was some wool, which was interesting because it's bringing back the notion of players getting crafting materials in this game for a lot of their rewards. Very interesting. I imagine we're going to see more on that in the future. So they went on to talk about some of the examples that players, some of the event examples that people can partake in Vera. And they listed 3 right off the top. Number 1 was a funeral. What? Puzzles, fights, and many more. It's a really interesting concept to see how much variety there really is for this system. Now, a few more things that they talked about was, so what happens if you're in this group and players attack you? Well, players can be attacked. In fact, there are events that have sanctioned PvP, and we know Ashes of Creation is a PvX game, so this is going to be really interesting to see how that plays out. Now, another thing that's really important to keep in mind, these events have cooldowns. This is not going to be something that is always available, something that players can force. No, these have cooldowns. And so it does make for more meaningful events. And these will be happening throughout Vera. That's what's interesting. So when they say 2 servers are truly not the same, that's what they mean. Because let's say there's events that are triggered and they keep failing on this one server. And because they keep failing, a big event is triggered. Well, that may be different than another server over here, server B. So server A has failed and they had one massive event and maybe they succeeded, maybe they failed. Server B has all these mini events they've been succeeding at. And so their outcome from server A to server B is going to be completely different. And that is a very, very cool piece of tech, that and the heat map when it comes to these world events. This was a very interesting update. I think players are going to have a lot of choice, a lot of opportunity to really figure out what they want to be a part of and how they want to invest themselves in Vera. And we're seeing that in the world event system. I'm Jibbs from LoreForged. Have a great day. Take care. Peace, love, and honeybees? Bumblebees? Nah. Have a good one.